Well, good evening, everybody. Very excited tonight. Welcome to our workshop. Basically, this is all about the life book, and we're going to be in element 6 tonight. And hopefully you guys can open your book if you have it. Very excited about talking to you about this tonight. I actually started off thinking we were in lesson 7, and so I planned first for lesson 7, which is creating a leptogenic world, which we'll get to next week. And you know, one of the great things about leptogenic is versus obesogenic is those are two terms that are used to kind of set the stage for where we are in our life. And we live in a very obesogenic world. In fact, that's why, you know, over 70% of us are overweight or obese. So when we go through, and we've now reviewed the first 5 lessons or elements, and each one of those elements was designed around giving you one of the pieces that are so important for success. And you know, you may ask, well, why are we waiting till element 6 to really talk about reaching a healthy weight, which is a very important parameter. You know, if you think about the things that we look in general that we can change that are modifiable, obviously smoking and, you know, doing hazardous behaviors, but reaching a healthy weight are the most important things we can do as far as decreasing our risk for getting disease and also for basically dying. So these are really important things. In fact, and the other one obviously is moving more, not a sedentary lifestyle, and stress reduction. So there's a lot of important ones, but reaching a healthy weight is one of the things that so many people struggle with. So when we talk about in this element, you're going to start to really get a feel of all the stuff we've been building up to. First of all, it's important to know why you want to get healthy. You know, why is it important to get healthy? 2, you need to know, what are you ready to work on right now? Are you still in pre-contemplation? Are you ready to really get going? The third is, do you know what a habit loop is? Do you know how habits work? Because 50% of what we do day in and day out is automatic. We don't even think about it. So for us to now create sustainable change, in other words, not being, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about reaching a healthy weight. We're not talking, if you notice, like being on a diet and losing weight, right? Because losing weight is getting rid of something you don't want. What we're actually doing here is creating health. And it's very important. Everything about what we do in the Habits Health Transformational System is about giving you, first helping you awaken to the possibilities, and then giving you the tools, the transformational tools, the human transformational tools that will allow you to move forward and actually create sustainable change. Because if, you know, we just go on a diet, and, you know, you'll see in just a moment here, 45 million Americans are on you know, buying diet stuff. It's go on a diet to lose weight. 45 million Americans. We're talking just in America. Over the world, it's a lot more. But basically, we're going to focus on something very different. We've been setting you up, and if you've been on our program, you've been on the 5 and 1, and you're using the fuelings in the Lean and Green or one of our modified programs, you're already starting to lose weight, and congratulations. And for all of you that have been gone through the first 5 elements, congratulations, because this is what it takes to change. You know, it's not something we can just buy on a shelf. It requires us to be awakened, to have a path, have a plan, preferably, hopefully you have a coach by now, and be part of a community that gives the underlying structure we talked about in healthy surroundings last week. And then the 4th is have things such as fuelings, which we'll mention a little bit in this section and then delve into more in a couple weeks in element 8. But what we want to talk about tonight is reaching a healthy weight. Now, this element, I always start off, everyone, if this is your first time listening, I always put in the beginning of the life book how long it should take. It should take about maybe a week to really go through and understand this piece. Basically, what we're going to talk about is setting your goal at reaching a healthy weight and really creating health. Explore the phases of weight management, because, you know, we're always in one of these phases, and as I mentioned, 70% are not in phase 1 or 2. They're in phase they're in phase 1 or 2. They're not in phase 3 or 4 where we want to take you eventually. So, and then the other part is we want to help you determine what it takes to create those new habits. So with this, I'd love for you guys to turn, if you have the book, turn to this chart right here. And in that chart, I really go over the different phases in weight management. The first macro habit is based on weight management. It is learning to understand where you are currently, what the parameters, because if you don't measure it, and it's more than just weight loss, by the way. It's more than just the pounds. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the second part, it's really the direction you want to go. And the nice thing is, for everybody on the call, I can tell you that we want to move from phase 3 to eventually to phase 4. In other words, once we reach a healthy weight, We don't go into maintenance. We don't have something called maintenance in our program. What we have is optimization. So as soon as you reach a healthy weight, boom, you're still moving. You're still using structural tension, which we're going to set up yours for reaching a healthy weight tonight. But you're still moving towards that. It's so important that we continue to move and progress. Remember, the trajectory of our life, unless we intervene and decide to create health and lead from the future and act in the now, we have a tendency to kind of like an aircraft, right? You have to maintain a certain level. You use a power to get going, and that's certainly where we are now, learning all these things to get you up in the air and get you into better health and better optimization. But once we got you up there, it takes so much power to keep you up there. And if we want to go higher and reach higher levels where the view's better, I flew in an aircraft yesterday and fuel consumption goes down. So there's a lot of good things to continue to get optimized, to get better and better and better. And I can tell you, if I had to pick the one thing that you can do to change your life and the life of your family, is focus on becoming a higher version of yourself. And that's certainly what we're going to talk about tonight, is your health. But as you go through the phases, you can see overweight or obese, reaching phase 1, which is about losing weight, reaching a healthy weight. Now there's 3 ways we measure that. 2 that are really easy, and the other one takes a little more energy or time. There's some devices you can use, and we'll talk about that. The first one is BMI, right? And it gets so much bad press because it's not perfect. The reason why it's not perfect, it's just looking at your height and your weight, and it creates a graph. And what the graph does, and you've got one right here, you can go online. You don't have to use the one in the habits system. There's one in the book and then one here. But you can actually just go and there's a calculator that will do it for you. But it's not measuring your body fat. So it doesn't measure by itself. It doesn't matter what % body fat you have. So you can be a little shorter and be basically overweight or obese because you have more fat and you have a big waist circumference. So what we do is we measure that first, and the way to look at it is you go from the greens, the orange, to the reds. The reds mean you're at more risk for disease, but then we do the other thing, which is we take out a tape measure, simple tape measure, and we measure our waist circumference. And measuring our waist circumference just above the ala. The ala are, if you took your hands right now and you put it at the top of your waist, here, let me stand up and do it. Put the top of your waist up a little bit, and a little bit there. It's like feeling where, these are called the ala, or the wings of your pelvis. So right at the top of there, come around about the same place as your belly button, you bring the tape right around there, and you want to measure that. And so basically, you can see it talks about when our waist circumference is, as a male, is about 37 inches. Basically, we're at higher risk, and with a woman, it's 31.5. It's one of the few things that males have a little more of advantage, although not much. And then the third is your body fat. Your body fat is critical, but basically it's optional as far as measuring it. We know this. We know if you go on our program, you basically use the Habits Health system, you start moving more and using all the 6 macro habits, over time your waist circumference will go down, your body composition will start to change as you add the habits of healthy motion, and you're going to gain muscle. So you'll actually gain muscle. So you actually may weigh a little more than you did as you reached your healthy weight as you're adding that muscle, and that's okay because that's in the optimization phase. But what you can do is, if you have a doctor or you're very interested in it, there's bod pods, there's all kinds of relatively inexpensive ways. They can do calipers. Your trainer can use calipers. And then there's the basically where they actually do a DEXA scan, where they can actually measure percent. And so if we look, you'll see the percent, a healthy amount of body composition of fat versus muscle. It changes as we age. And we know this. We know that as a woman, depending on whether you're in the reproductive age, somewhere between 22, 20 up to 25%. For a male, it's under 18% because we don't have those beautiful shapes that you guys do. So we don't need that extra fat, which is important obviously for having babies and reproduction. But you can see in the gray pages, it goes through each of those phases and talks about what your BMI should be, what your waist circumference should be, and what your body body fat should be on average. And if you can see, phase 1 weight loss going down to healthy weight. So we're going to do a structural tension chart in a minute here, where we're going to look at where you are now and where you want to go. You can kind of see, for most people, you'll be somewhere overweight or obese if you're just getting started. We'll look at the weight loss, what the weight loss phase contains, which is getting you down to healthy weight. And once you're down, as a criteria, we use under 25 BMI and a waist circumference for males 37 and a female 31.5. And then optional, if you do get it checked, for a male it's under 18%, as we mentioned, and for a female under 25%. So that's a lot of information. You don't need to, that's why you have the life book in the system. I just kind of want to get over to set that in place. So what we're going to do now is you want to take this page and actually write down, go through it, and what's your current reality. And there's a series of questions that we'll ask you that'll kind of set you up right now where you are in your current health. If you're just listening to this first time, talk to whoever got you on the call, and they'll tell you how you can get this information. You can go to habitsofhealth.com, to my website, and download it, for free. There's no obligation at all. We just want to make sure you know where you are. And then we're going to create our first structural tension chart. So basically, if you look at it, if we mention the 3 components, and what we did here is actually at the top, I created an example. And in the example, I talk about current reality, overweight at 195, muffin top, 35-inch waist. I said secondary choices, because when we make a structural tension, and the desired outcome is basically healthy, a weight of 175 and a waist circumference of 33 inches or less. So that's kind of the desired outcome, right? Getting down to a BMI of under 25, basically from where it is now is at 27. And then we write down on the side the secondary choices. So you can follow this in the book. I'm just kind of going through it quickly to give you an idea. But in this, you can see that the secondary choices to make, these are the things that will help reach, which are all habits. One is portion control, 6 meals per day, eating breakfast every day, low glycemic carbs, lean and green, and 8 glasses of water, 8-ounce glasses of water a day. So those are the 3 pieces. So what we're doing in this element is kind of preparing you for reaching a healthy weight, which is one of the simplest and one of the things that people really, really want to do the most. Because I can tell you, as you start losing weight, you feel better. It creates a teachable moment, and you're going to get more and more excited about delving in and continue on this journey to optimal health. And people ask me, well, why did I wait so long before I introduced it? Well, most of you that are using our program or that have been on the 5-in-1 or one of the modified programs from the beginning. So you're already in a weight loss phase. You're already in that place. And during that period, while you've been getting excited, I wanted you to read the rest of the elements, because that's what's going to keep you on track. Knowing that it's much more than weight loss. It's all about creating health and starting to change our habits. So, in review of that, if you look down, the 3 key points of this chapter are: number 1, you're focused on building health, which is really what you want, right? It's not losing weight. When we lose weight, we do something for a short period of time, and if we're even lucky enough to lose the weight, as soon as we finish, what do? We go out and we celebrate. We go out to a restaurant. We end up celebrating and eating something that's not healthy for us. So dieting is really the mindset for a restrictive period of time. I'm going to do something I don't want to do and restrict myself and what I can't eat. What we talk about as you read through this element, in this element we talk about what is my goal? And it says right here on the first page, I love this, it says, very simple. How do you create a healthy weight? The answer is really embedded in the question. You create a healthy weight. And that is what we're going to do in this element. We're going to have you start to really understand you are the dominant force in your life. You make the choices. We're going to focus on, with structural tension, to really give you the focus on reaching this healthy weight. And if you're already losing some weight, you're feeling better. We want to not only, by the time you reach your healthy weight, We want you now to have the reinforcing habits, the small daily habits that we're installing, so it lasts, so it becomes sustainable versus just another one of those. So that's the key part of what we do, and that's the key part of the Habits of Health transformational system, and that's the key part your coach is going to be working with you with, or yourself if you're working on your own, but hopefully you will get some support because it's a lot helpful. But the key part is now focusing on the outcome you want, creating that. So the first part is creating health. The second part, if you read through this, basically says very simply, it goes, your healthy weight is built on learning a series of new habits which create new behaviors. Those new habits in the different sections, in the macro habits. And we talk about a few. So let me just mention a few of those. So as we get you prepared, you're going to learn, and when we go to the leptogenic, creating your leptogenic world, how we can change your environment and your surroundings, the things we talked about last week. And I'll just use an example here to kind of see what we're talking about. We buy our willpower at the grocery store. Now, there's a lot of work, controversy work going on about what actually is willpower and what it isn't. But the reality is this. If we leave our own self-discipline to do everything all the time, it becomes very hard for us to be sustainable. So, I use an example coming up in the next chapter, which I talk about my girls. My girls are impeccable. They dress impeccable. They eat healthy as can be. But around exam week, when they're focused on getting their studying and they're not sleeping well and they're cramming and all the things, we don't want them doing, they go to heck. They're wearing sweats. They eat pizza. They do all the wrongs because they're so focused on this that all the other areas, their discipline in those areas fall off. The only way around that is to do what we're talking about, starting with element 6, is starting to build structural attention charts, starting to know the secondary choices that support long-term health. That's how we're going to make you bulletproof. By the time you finish element 26, and hopefully you'll get it done in this year, you'll stay with it, you will be in much better shape to withstand whatever happens to us. This year's been a year of just complete chaos and change. But I can tell you, those that have adopted the Habits Health system, those that are using their coaches, those that are in our community are weathering much better than those that aren't, because they're learning the habits of health. So anyway, hope that's helpful. And then the third one, just to basically conclude this, your healthy weight is built on a series of new habits which create the behaviors that we talked about. And with that, and with reaching your healthy weight with structural tension, you're now creating momentum that's going to help move us forward. You're going to guard how you feel, the thriving. I want to finish tonight by something I haven't talked about before. But if you noticed in the elements, each element, and when we started all the way back in the beginning, when we were getting your introduction and your current story, you noticed there were very few, no colors actually in the very first. This is the second one. And now you can see it's starting to basically fill up with colors. And the colors are, here, I'll show you. So here's an example of the colors, right, coming into it. These colors represent the pebbles put into that mason jar we talked about in the very beginning. The mason jar of putting in the macro habits, starting to build this foundation that's going to make you rock solid. So basically, hope this was helpful. I'll see you next week, and God bless, and let's go out and create better health for ourselves, our community, and the people we love. See you. Bye.